Welcome back to
Weird Wednesday,
where I talk about Halloween stuff for the month of Halloween. It's pretty straightforward. Today we're going to be talking about Halloween in Ireland and some cool, interesting things that we do or have done. And the first thing we're going to talk about is Halloween's origins as Samhain. Now, if you watched my last video, and why wouldn't you, you'll know that Samhain marks the end of the light season entering into the dark season. But what you might not also know is that it marks a time when the gateways open and the souls can pass through officially from one realm to another, or, whatever your religious beliefs, but specifically these religious beliefs in this occurrence. So at Samhain, or Halloween, people weren't afraid of these spirits because, it could be relatives, somebody they were close to had died. It was almost a celebration of times, and people would leave out food in their houses so that if the souls wanted to pass through on their way to other side, that they could have a snack. And that's where trick-or-treating kind of originated. And commonly people would leave their front and their back door open so that the soul could go through, like a through wind or whatever. Now, as time went on, people started obviously making up stories. Oh, the Irish, we love to make up a story. And they'd make up things about monsters and scary souls coming through and demons trying to take over your body and such. So they decided to put on Halloween masks to scare away the souls. And over time, this evolved to just be kind of cool costumes, which brings me on to my next point. Halloween costumes in Ireland traditionally have always been made by the children, up until more recent times. When I was growing up, half the fun was figuring out what you were going to be and how you were going to make it. And you wouldn't go sewing things or anything like that unless you were a particularly gifted child. You'd just kind of glue things together or put this t-shirt over that t-shirt. One thing I was particularly fond of doing was dressing up as a bin. I don't know why, I just found it highly amusing and I would stick things to myself, and I actually revisited this costume later in life. I don't know why I'm so fond of being a bin, I just am. You might have heard me say that Ireland has become a bit Americanized in respect to Halloween and Halloween costumes. And what I mean by this is, here's a good example in one of my favourite movies in America. Irish children look to movies and TV shows and the internet and they see these amazing cool costumes that Americans or Canadians buy online. And basically in the last decade, it's become more common to go and buy the costumes in the shops. And that's okay because things evolve. But personally, I used to always enjoy making the costume, no matter how tat it was. Next up, did you know fireworks are illegal in Ireland? Yeah, they're actually illegal. They have been for quite some time, but that's not to say you won't find fireworks in Ireland. You can still get organised firework displays from the fire brigade or the police force, and they put on a lot of big displays where people are left at a safe distance and it's all good and it's all very nice and wholesome and nice. But more commonly, people buy fireworks on the black market. When I was growing up, my mother would even go down Moore Street, which is a famous street in the city centre in Dublin, which kind of is known that you can sometimes get little things off your man or your woman over there. And I'm not saying my mother engaged in illegal activities, but let's just say there were fireworks in our house every Halloween growing up. Also, a thing Irish people have been known to do is take a trip up north where they fall under UK jurisdiction and it's not so difficult to get fireworks. And there's a well-known joke about coming over the border with your kids sitting on a box of fireworks as you go through border control. I've not actually seen it myself, but it's just a thing that people say. Now, with regard to trick-or-treating, that is definitely a thing that happens here. People knock on your door and they say trick-or-treat, but it's definitely more for little kids. I'd be quite surprised if anybody above the age of maybe 9 came to the door. But I do remember trying to stretch it out as long as I possibly could growing up, so maybe even into age 11, I'm not too sure. But they knock on your door and they say trick-or-treat, give us something nice to eat. And traditionally, you would give them something nice to eat. Contemporarily, I would give them a packet of sweets or a bar or something, fun-sized treats or something like that. But it's not uncommon to get monkey nuts or an orange in your bag, which is always a joy for kids to get when they go trick-or-treating. At some houses, particularly where there are older people, they'll ask you to earn your treat, and they'd ask you to recite a poem or sing a song or something like that. And it was actually something that me and my friends used to get really nervous about, particularly going to this older lady's house, because she'd always ask you to do something and we'd be like, oh my god, what are you gonna do? I prepared a poem! And that kind of thing. I don't know how much it happens anymore, but it is a thing that has happened in the past. And I think it's kind of cute. I'd maybe ask some kids if they come around. Hopefully not instilling the fear of God in them, but yeah. The next thing you might not know much about is pumpkins. Conceptually, pumpkins started off in Ireland and they were turnips. Back in the day, they used to use turnips or even potatoes instead of pumpkins, just as a Halloween tradition. But this came from a pretty cool, dark story. So this dude, Jack, was in the pub and for some reason he was sharing a few rounds with his friends and the devil. And instead of paying, he managed to trick the devil into turning himself into a coin to pay the tab for the bar. But after the devil had turned himself into a coin, Jack thought it was pretty cool that he had a coin devil, so he kept him in his pocket next to his crucifix cross. Now, there's a few different versions of that. Some people say he had a cross on his hand and always held the coin. Other people say that he poured holy water on it. But the point is, he tricked the devil and kept him as a coin, because reasons. Whatever happened next, himself and Devil Coin began to negotiate, and he agreed to let the devil go free if he could not exact his revenge for a year. Now, here's the thing, Jack died before the year was through, and when he went up to heaven, God was like, no, you're a bad man, you can't come in here. And then when he went over to hell and was like,
Lads, they're not letting me in.
the devil was like, well, you can't come in here either, Jack. I don't know what to tell you, man. But I will give you this coal, and you can roam the earth for the rest of eternity, guided by this piece of coal. Again, I don't know, but he had a piece of coal. And Jack decided to keep his piece of coal lit inside of a turnip. And that's where the turnipy thing started. And then the Irish immigrants went over to America and they were like, hey, pumpkins are cooler as a decoration than turnips. Let's make pumpkins the new thing. And that's where the jack-o'-lantern, aka pumpkin carving, came from. Another fun Irish tradition, not dissimilar to bobbing for apples, is a game called Snap Apple, where you put an apple up on a string and you wear a blindfold and you tie your hands behind your back and you've got your blindfold on, and the first person who can take a bite out of the apple wins a special prize. It's actually really fun. You should definitely try it if you have kids or if you're just a big kid yourself. And the reason that one started was because apples were a big treat back in the day, and yeah, apples, yay, apples. Eat them. And finally, the last cool Irish thing I want to talk to you guys about is the Baron Bracket cake. This one is very awesome. Oh, maybe I've hyped it too much now. So Wikipedia reliably informs me that it's a yeast bread cake with sultanas and raisins. I would just say it's a fruit cake, usually. But basically, people would eat it at Halloween and it had stuff inside that was supposed to tell your fortune, which is so cool. Usually now you will just buy a Baron Brack in the supermarket with a ring in it, and yes, I suppose, potentially, it's a health and safety risk, but you know there's a ring inside. Be careful when you're eating the cake. If you got the ring, it meant you were going to get married very soon. But if you got a pea, like a green pea, you were not getting married that year. If you found a stick, yeah, I can see why they don't still put a stick in. That's kind of gross. If you got a stick, it was really bad because it meant that you'd have an unhappy marriage and you'd always be fighting with your partner. If you found a coin, it meant you were going to come into good fortune very soon. It was very good to get a coin. But if you got a cloth, that was the opposite and was bad. It meant that you were going to lose a good bit of money, so hopefully you don't find that one. And the maddest one of all was a religious medallion or pendant inside of the cake. And if you found that, it meant you were going to go into the priesthood or the nunnery very soon. Which usually in every family in Ireland, there was definitely a priest or a nun back in the day. Not so much anymore. Now, you guys have been pretty eager to share with me some of your cool Halloween traditions. And I got sent some very cool items from Mike and Christy. And they want me to try some of their cool Halloweeny things out. That are candle, what sent me. I love him. This are scarves. Always yawning when I talk. A cool nail polish in my favourite colour, and loads of other cool stuffs, thank you! But today I'm particularly eager to try out these! So I have Autumn Mix. I think these are candy corn. I've always wanted to try candy corn. And also M&M's white candy corn, which I'm going to assume is like a fancy version of candy corn. Ooh. Also these awesome Halloweeny cider drinks, which I'm going to give editor Diane a go of, because I feel like she's worked pretty hard this week. She won't be grateful though. So, a month in which we've been learning all about the tipping culture in America, you give me cider. Wow, thanks. It is actually nice though. Oh, it's all different. Oh, I didn't know it was going to be all different. It looks quite hard. Oh my gosh, that's way nicer than I thought. Oh, I see why this is popular. Does everyone taste differently? It's really hard. That is so strange. It tastes like fudge. What? I was expecting it to be more like taffy or something. That's so nice. Oh, this is dangerous for me. I'm gonna eat the whole bag. Let's try it, the M&M white candy corn. Ooh. Look, taste the rainbow. Mmm. Oh, what does that taste of? Mmm, artificial flavour. It's like orangey or something. I love it. Oh my god, these are a big hit. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this week's Weird Wednesday. Next week, I have something very special in store, and that's why editor Diane is working so hard. It's gonna be real good. So do turn on your notification bell if you haven't already, because, yep. I can't say anything. A couple of really cool patrons that I want to thank are... First up, we have Lynn Crop Newell. Lynn is one of my newest supporters, and she turned 55 yesterday. She says she needs a Guinness. Lynn is already one of my most active patrons on the platform, and her son is a singer. She says she loves laughing her head off at the videos. This month, the lovely Jim Weed would like to give a shout out to the Guide Dogs of Texas, a charity he actively supports. I'll leave the link for their site in the description, and he had warned me that the pictures may captivate me for hours. He was not wrong, so prepare yourself. Next up, we have Kevin Swiger, and I think Kevin is quite the comedian himself because he sent me this photo with the caption, "Me smiling quite a lot watching your videos." You're a funny guy, Kevin. And finally, we have Brian Linton. The shout out he'd like to call attention to is remembering Chad Carr, a little Wolverine who is no longer with us. And he wants to point you in the direction of chadtough.org. Brian's message to go along with this shout out is that love is universal and knows no borders. Thanks for being an awesome human being, Brian. Thank you so much. If you're interested in getting exclusive content like those guys and supporting the channel, you can check it out on the link below. Bye! You love wearing clothes. Who's your favourite king? This is for you. And this is for you. And this is for me. Not you. More content. I just hit Chewie in the head. Because Halloween... Because really Halloween... Better butter. And you wouldn't go... Red leather, yellow leather. She sat upon the balcony inexplicably mimicking. She sat upon the balcony inexplicably mimicking. She sat upon the balcony inexplicably mimicking and hiccuping whilst amicably welcoming her in. Ah!